Well, welcome everyone. So great to be with you tonight, and thank you so much for joining us on this live update. There's been a lot happening for Zoe here in Australia, so our focus tonight is just sharing an update and some things that have been happening. But it would be great to say hello to some of you guys that are on the call with us. And so if you could just jump on the chat now, say hello and tell us where you're joining from. That would be absolutely wonderful, as we're having a few more people jumping in as we speak. So jump on now on the chat, just say hello and just tell us where you're joining us from in Australia or from overseas. That would be wonderful. It'd be great to hear where you guys are from. So today and tonight, we're going to be talking about our work, Zoe's work. We're obviously very involved with the work of Zoe globally. We have part of meetings that are happening with all of the countries where Zoe operates. And a big part of Zoe Australia's focus has been helping and supporting the work of Zoe in Thailand. And so we are continuing to be a part of that through supporting the work in prevention, supporting our teams as they walk alongside law enforcement to rescue children from slavery, and then also post-rescue, caring for kids. Helping them through transition through as they're healing from trauma, helping with education, vocational training. So it's so great to see so many people. Hello to you guys. Anna-Ree, yes, we can see you from Japan, people that I absolutely love. Jumped on a call with our team from Japan during the week, because one thing we're always trying to do is increase our learning between our countries. So that's why we share a lot of what we're doing globally. So yes, great to see you, Alfonso. Thank you, Sharon. Great to see you. Great to see you, Grace. Anna, wonderful to see you again. Yes, our great friends in Sydney. There's a lot that we'll share about tonight about things that we've been a part of in Sydney as well. So good. I saw Tammy on there before as well, so that's great. Sarah, so good to see you in Albury. Wonderful. And yes, Claudette and Martin, you are great people. From chilly Melbourne, I know. We are feeling that as well. And so I'm sure a few of our Queensland friends tonight will be jumping on and saying where they are, because yes, it's a bit warmer up there at the moment. So absolutely wonderful to see a lot of people joining us. It is a bit chilly in Melbourne at the moment where we are streaming from tonight, but we thought a great way to still connect and do an update. So as you're jumping in, if you've just joined us, I've seen a few more people come in now. If you could just put in the chat where you are joining from, that would be absolutely wonderful. Good to see you, Cassie. It's so great to have people joining us from all over Australia. So tonight we're going to do some updates and share things that are happening within Australia. And I think what we'd love to do is just feel free to keep putting questions in the Q&A. So use the chat tonight as we're talking about different things. You can ask questions and we'll do our best to pause as we go through and respond to those questions. But you can ask a question anytime tonight. So don't be shy. We've got the chat working. See more folks coming from cold Sydney. I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all. And beautiful sunny Tassie. Great to see you, Chad and Carla. And Laura from Thailand. Great to see you as well. Oh, Thailand, good time of year. I think going into a bit of wet season now. So yes, but it should be fun. Great to see you and be on the call with you tonight as well. So obviously I want to start with an acknowledgement of country as we begin tonight. So Zoe Foundation Australia respects and honours Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and emerging. We acknowledge their stories, traditions and living cultures and recognise their continuing connection to lands, waters and community. And we commit to building a brighter future together. So our Clayton office, where we're streaming from tonight, is on the traditional land of the Burrawong people of the Kulin Nation. And so as we get started tonight, I can see more people jumping in. Yes, Tom and Michelle, great to see you also. So as you've just joined us tonight, throw in the chat where you're from, and please, as you're having questions about any of the things that we're sharing, please just put that in the chat. We want this to be as interactive. We want people to be able to ask questions about the work that's happening that we're a part of here in Australia. So you can ask those questions at any time. Well, we've got started now. We've got a few people that are still joining us. So welcome, Andrew and Elena. Good to see you as well. Cold Melbourne. Beautiful sunny Tassie is the word in the chat. So let's see. And we've got some crew from Thailand here as well. And people from Queensland I can see there. Lots from Sydney. Haven't seen anyone from the West just yet. So if you're joining us from Western Australia, please put that in the chat as well. It'd be great to know where you're joining us from. So I'm going to jump off the couch. in a minute, and I'm going to welcome on Andrea and Rachel, and they're going to be sharing a little bit more about some of the work that we've got, that we're a part of here in Australia. So for those that have just joined us, tonight is an update where we're going to be sharing about some of the activity. There's been a lot going on for Zoe here in Australia. Obviously, we're still part of the work of Zoe globally, but tonight's update's a little bit more focused for work that's happening here in Australia. So I'm going to jump off. I'm going to welcome in Rach and Andy, and as they come in, I'm just going to play a clip that'll help to start off what they're going to be sharing about tonight.
Okay, so we really wanted to design this game in a way that it was like another protective tool that people can use to be able to help kids that are in vulnerable situations. We're both mums, and so, you know, when kids are little and if you've got a pool in the backyard, you have a fence around it. When we're teaching our kids to ride bikes, we put helmets on their head. When we're crossing the road, we hold their hand, and these are all just different things that we do to keep children safe. And that's really what we see the essence of this game is for, is to teach children some more strategies. Definitely if something happens to them, it's not their fault, we're not saying that, but we want to give kids tools and we want to be able to equip them just with some different protective behaviours in their life.
Yeah. So as a part of doing the game, not only are we going to play the game, but also we're going to have time for discussion and activities with the children and young people that are going to touch on key issues around where are safe places, what is a safe place, what is safe touch. We all need to know appropriate boundaries around what is safe and unsafe touch. Who are the safe people that we have in our world? We all need safe people. Not every child and young person is clear around who that is for them. And also we're going to look at the very important and highly topical subject of safe spaces, including the online space, which is just turning into a massive jungle. And we want to help equip children and young people to know what are the good choices to make. When is an online space safe and when is it unsafe? Do you remember games that you played when you were a kid? I know that I love games, my family love games, and what we find is, as I'm sure you know, sitting down with a child and saying, oh, let's have a conversation, isn't always the best way to engage. But when you get a small group of young people together and you're sitting around a game board and you're rolling a dice and you're moving around the board and getting to have conversations with them, what you'll find is people will start to open up and begin to share a part of their lives. One of the great things that I love about this game is actually the fact that every person has a character. So they're not actually having to be vulnerable around their own situation, but they get to navigate this game through the perspective of the character, and the questions and the answers that they give are around what would my character do? And then as we're discussing from the position of the character, what can happen is people can tend to get a little more vulnerable about their own space and feel comfortable to share about what's happening in their own world.
Hi everybody!
Hi.
Well, you just saw us on the video, but for those of you who don't know us, I'm Andrea.
I'm Rachel.
And we get to have, I think, just quietly the most fun part of this update.
The most fun part.
Because we're talking about a game, and who doesn't love to play games, right?
No, I love playing games. How good did the game look, guys? Do you love it? We're so excited about this game. This is something we've been working really hard on for what, maybe
probably over 6 months now.
Yeah, over 6 months, and we're almost ready to, well, we are ready actually to pilot it. So, would you like to know about it?
All right, so for those of you who don't know, Rachel is a social worker, and so when she started working with us, we were really brainstorming different ideas, weren't we, about how can we reach young people in schools with some really good tools to help them build up just some different skills around identifying who safe people are, what are safe places and safe spaces that they can go to, and also just learning a little bit about safe touch and how to protect themselves. And so as we were discussing these things, we were just talking about, you know, we don't really want to come in with just like a talk and a presentation. How can we think about a way to really engage young people? And so that's where the idea of having a game came from. So do you want to talk about who this game is targeted at, Rachel?
Yeah, so we're really looking to target students in grade 5 and grade 6. So they're just getting ready to launch into high school. They're getting ready to launch into a new level of independence.
Yeah. Teenage years.
Yeah, accessing phones, internet at a new level, and getting to know different people and new people. So with that in mind, we really wanted to reach out to this group of people and start to help them engage in conversations and become equipped with different ways that they can make strong choices around protective behaviors, around good boundaries, knowing how to choose safe people to have in their world.
And one of the things that I love about this game is that it's non-competitive. Now, I know you're quite competitive, Rachel.
Just a bit.
And really good, it's a really good, but in certain situations, right, you don't want it to be a distraction.
Correct.
And so that's why we've designed this game in a really non-competitive way, where actually we're building teamwork together through different challenges and different activities, which I think is really special about the way that it's designed.
Yep.
And the other part, can you talk to us a bit about how the participants in the game are actually taking on a different character profile?
Yeah, so what's really great about this is, you know, when you get together and you might have things going on in your own world, it's not always so easy to just talk about what's happening in your own world. It can be really tough. But the great thing about this game is that you actually get to select a character. And we've got a couple of great examples here. And then you get to make some decisions in the game through the perspective of how you think your character would make a choice. So for example, I've got Ryan here. He's a little bit cute. So Ryan is 11. He loves basketball. He loves watching the NBA. His dream is to be a professional basketball player. So Ryan has just moved to a new town. Unfortunately, he was bullied at his last school, and now his family have moved here for a fresh start. Ryan loves to shoot hoops. He hangs out at the local basketball court, and he's starting to get to know some people because he's hanging out and shooting hoops there. Even though he's not really that tall yet, he's actually quite a good shooter and is very accurate, especially from the three-point line. Like I said, he's making some new friends. He loves to hang out with people that are playing basketball, watching basketball. He has an older sister, Tiffany. Now, she's not happy about the move. She really loved the old place they lived and the old school they attended. And so she gets a bit grumpy, and Ryan feels like Tiffany gets angry at her a lot. And his parents, they've got new jobs, and there's a lot of adjustment happening in the house. So now they've moved to a new space. How is Ryan going to navigate making new friends, where to hang out, who to hang out with?
Yeah, and how does he choose really good friends? How does he find those safe adults that he needs in this new space in the town? And so, each of the character profiles has different things. Some have health concerns, some have different vulnerabilities in terms of their family makeup. And so, the kids take on different characters to play the game with. So it's non-competitive, they take on different character profiles. Another thing about the game is that it's set in a town, and you might have seen on the video there's a big tree house in the middle. And as we were planning the game, we were really just starting to consider, you know, where should the characters in this game begin the game from? And for a lot of children, I think, you know, sometimes home is not a happy place. Sometimes school is not a happy place. They're places of maybe hurt or pain. Some kids have been through bullying scenarios. And so we were just trying to think of like what would be a really fun place that the players could start the game from. And so we just thought about this idea of a tree house being a really fun place, a place where it represents adventure, it represents just a place of safety, a place where people can go to chill out with their friends or just like hang out in a really relaxed atmosphere. But it's also just a place where you can get that perspective, and if you're up high in a treehouse, you can just look out at everything around you, and it gives you a really fresh look at everything. And it's also just a place where you can just go and just decompress and just process the day and think through all of those things that are going on in your mind. And so that's why we chose the treehouse as just that central part to start the game from, which I really love that about the game.
Yeah, I love it. It's
And
really
we've had
cool.
so much fun. We've played the game several
Lots of
times.
times. It is really great.
And we're super excited to get out really soon into schools and
Yes.
start playing it with kids out in schools and hear their feedback as well and make the adjustments necessary. But what else have we got? So the game goes for how many weeks? Can you tell us a bit about that?
So the game goes for, well, the game could go for as many weeks as we want it to go, but we've got a co-curriculum that goes
right.
with the game. And so there are four main topics, I can count, four main topics that go with it. And so we are going to spend some time unpacking safe touch, safe people, safe places, and safe spaces, especially the online space.
It's a really big one.
It is a big one. And so the whole goal is that we will spend time playing the game as a group, have fun, talk things through, and then pick up one of those particular issues and really unpack that and help children to identify. So for example, when we're looking at safe people, we'll be helping the young people to identify how can you choose who is a safe person, what does a safe person
What are
look
those
like?
attributes of a safe person?
Yeah, and who are the safe people that are in their world?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in knowing anything more about this game, we can put up the link. We have a link that has a lot more videos explaining just how the game is played. The aim of this is to actually develop it further so that we can actually just be able to pass it on, and wellbeing staff or chaplains or other people in schools can actually just pick up the facilitator's guide and be able to just play it in their own schools with their kids. But at the moment we're piloting it in schools, and so we met with a principal today and we're really excited because it's looking like we're going to be at a local school very soon, next term, and we're hoping to get into a few other schools as well and just really start playing it with some of these kids.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be really great.
So we can't wait.
Yeah.
Now we do have one other thing that we need to talk about as well.
Yes, something else that's really exciting. So we've just finished running a parenting course called Bringing Up Great Kids. It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was such a great time.
Yeah. So we connected with a bunch of parents. We ran it during the day, and over 6 weeks we spent time with them and together. Like, I did the course as well. I'm a parent. I did the course as well. But we
learned a lot, actually.
Yeah, we're still learning a lot. But so what we love about this course actually is that it doesn't tell you how you parent, but it actually encourages you to reflect on what has influenced you to parent the way that you parent, and how to stop and listen and reflect to be less reactive and more responsive to our children. Also, we looked at brain development, the development of the child, how to listen.
Oh, that was one of my favourite things.
Yeah,
we really practice every week.
Every week.
Some deep listening skills, and for me that was really, that was really powerful actually, and something that I continue just to be able to practice within my own family. Both the skill of listening and being able to share for that long, because those are skills that we really had to work on. And the deep breathing as well. And do you want to explain the remote? Breathing. That was so much fun.
So one of the activities we did every week during the course, and have encouraged participants to do at home, is something called Stop, Pause, Play. And what was awesome is that every participant in the course got one of these remotes, and it's nice and squishy and comforting and calming, even just squishing it. But to just practice, like when we're having a moment, I'm just going to stop, I'm going to pause, going to take a breath, and then I'm going to play. Okay, now I can go in and deal with the situation. So that was really fun. What else did you love about the course, Sandy?
Oh, there was so much that I loved about it. But I think one of my favourite weeks was the week that we talked about the messages from the past. And it was really good just to reflect about, what messages we'd accepted, in our childhood growing up, and to be able to sort them into, okay, what do I want to pass on to my children? So what are those good, positive messages? What are some messages that maybe weren't so helpful that I don't want to pass on? And just being really aware about that, and what our language is, and our body language even. And then what are some things that might have been okay, but I just want to reframe them. So maybe there was parts of it that were all right, and then parts of it that I don't want to pass on. So that reframing. And I think just the physical like sorting. We did it
Yes.
into different bins and really sorted out. That was really, I really liked that session.
That was a really fun session. So one of the other great things is that every participant got a manual, a journal, sorry, and so what it allowed for was for during the week after you'd participated in the session to actually take some time to work through some questions, really reflect, and take on board the key learnings. Now, there was some really good feedback from the participants.
There was.
One really key bit of feedback was just the value of being able to come together and learn from each other. And it was such a safe place to go, oh, that worked. Oh, I didn't do so great
I messed up this week. Yeah, that was really challenging.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the other thing I loved too was we actually have a closed Facebook group. And so in between like the sessions, because we met only once a week, we were able to just put up little encouragements or like give that feedback to each other or suggest an idea or, hey, I just found out this, you know, little video, watch this. Or And so I found that really helpful too, just to stay connected throughout the rest of the week until we met again. But as we said, we're missing our group already.
No, that was such a special group of people. We did.
But we're actually running it again next term. And we're not going to do it during the day this time. We're actually going to run it on a Monday night.
Monday nights.
So
if you're free.
What are the dates for that, Rach?
The 17th of July. So it starts the 17th of July, finishes the 21st of August. It's 2 hours a session. So it's an investment of 12 hours. And it will pay an incredible dividend in really helping you develop strong, healthy relationships with your children, but not just your children. As we grow in our listening skills, it'll impact our marriage, impact our friendships. As we learn to stop, pause, play, it will just help us to be better individuals, help us with our own regulation, help us to understand our children and helping them to regulate. It's going to be great.
And you get to hang out with us.
And you get to hang out. I know. We are the best people. We are fun. And there will be food. Coffee?
That's right. You get, and we didn't mention that, you get handouts. You get a journal. The remote. Is like
that's my favourite.
Parenting affirmations. Snacks.
Yeah.
I mean, what more fun could you want? Seriously, on a Monday night in Melbourne.
That's awesome. So I think on that, did we have anything else? Did anybody out there have any questions? I can't see. Sorry, guys.
Somebody sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is an amazing course. It is.
The links there for more information about the game too, for the other videos.
And so if you are a teacher or a principal and you're watching this and you are interested in having this game piloted in your school in Melbourne, then please reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you.
Did we say what age it was for?
Grade 5 to 6 students, so 10 to 12-year-olds really.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, it's been really great to see you tonight, chat with you. There are some more exciting updates coming, and so we are going to hand over to Mesh and Dave after a video.
Bye.
Pathways to Preventing Child Trafficking will equip you with ways to respond to modern-day slavery. This course will empower you to competently, holistically, and passionately act against the injustice of child trafficking by increasing your understanding of this issue. Now, though this topic may sound heavy, we've specifically designed the course so that you do not feel overwhelmed. Zoe means life, and we want this course to leave you feeling encouraged, equipped and empowered to help bring this abundant life to others. We can't wait to see you at our in-person course, so go ahead and click on the link to register now.
Well, so great to be back. Hi there.
Yeah,
hey, it's good to see you. Good to see you. How great are Rach and Andy?
Oh, they're balls of fun.
Oh, they are fun. They are fun.
So much energy.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, welcome Mesh. Great to have you here. Great to join us on the couch for some conversation. So we just saw you on a video. We were talking about the one-day course, but before we get into that, I thought it'd be great for us to start with, like, how did you get involved? Like, what's your thing? What's your moment that caused you to come and be a part of this work?
Yeah, so Look, I learned about human trafficking in my 20s, and up until that point, I didn't realise that slavery still existed. So I went along to a screening of a documentary about human trafficking, and when I saw human trafficking depicted and heard the stories of survivors, it impacted me so much that I couldn't forget what I'd heard and seen.
Right.
And after that, I started doing trips to Cambodia to volunteer my time with anti-trafficking organisations over there. And it was there on one of those trips that I witnessed human trafficking with my own eyes for the first time, and really confronting stuff. But at the time I was working in a corporate space, and so every time I'd return to Australia, I was growing more and more discontent with the disparity between my quality of life, my way of living, and what people were subjected to somewhere else. So over the last few years, I started looking for opportunities locally, and I came across the work of Zoe. So,
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we are glad. We're glad.
Me
yeah,
too.
You're wonderful. No, it's so great to. And I think that's the thing. I think we all have this moment where we see something, we see it for the first time, we start to learn it and about something new. And I was similar. Like when we first heard about it, I was like, "There's no way this could be happening." And so that caused me to something shifted, obviously, in my heart. But then I was like, I need to learn more. I've got to learn more about this. Is this really happening? I downloaded government reports, watched documentaries, and found out that this thing was real. And I think that's the journey for a lot of us, right? Which is why we're doing things like courses. So before we unpack that, I can see that a lot of guys have just jumped on this call. So hello to you. I saw Dave Payton jump on before, so it's great to see you. I saw Les joining us from Thailand, so that's another one there. But yeah, so great. So tonight, our update is just sharing about things that are happening here, and we're specifically looking about the work of Zoe here in Australia. And so if you've missed the start, stay with us now, but you can come back and watch some of this, more of this later. So Andy and Rach were sharing about some of the work we're doing in the prevention space through the work of the game. And now I'm joined by the wonderful Mesh. And so we're just sharing about some other things. So we did a course in Sydney.
we did.
1-day course. So tell me about that.
It was only our second time, Dave, running a course in person.
Yep.
This course is offered online and still is, but we thought we'd try something different, shake things up, and we had 18 participants come along.
It's great.
And it was just fantastic.
Yeah, so good.
The quality of discussion in that room, and just the opportunity for people to debrief some of the more difficult aspects of the content together in real time was really special.
Yeah, so good. And I think that's it. Because so we do, as you say, we do offer it online. So you can, if you go to gozoe.org.au and you click on courses, there's a couple of courses there that are available. You can do them. They're free to do. We want to keep getting this information out there. They take about 6 hours to do, but you can do them at your own pace. But we have found there's something powerful about coming together.
Definitely.
And doing this as a group of people. So, yeah, I think that's something that we'd love to keep exploring.
Yeah, so a question on behalf of everyone watching,
Sure.
potentially, if they wanted to host one of these one-day courses with us attending, how would they do that? And how many people would we host that for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are, we're very willing. So if you can gather a group of people together, we'd love to have a conversation about that. So if you can gather some people, please, and you want us to come and put a course on for your group, we would love to do that. I actually saw there's a couple of people in Thailand, so I'm kind of hoping that they put a group together and say, hey, come over,
Awesome.
We're going to pay, we're going to send you over, put you up somewhere nice, drink a lot of bubble tea.
Great, if you could station us next to a bubble tea stand, that would be great. We would definitely come.
Yeah, that's right, that's
Even
right.
just for two people.
Exactly. You and I will do that one, Mesh.
Yeah.
So, no, but if there's a group of you, we'd love to have that conversation with you. So you can shoot us an email, info@gozoe.org.au. Say where you're coming from, have a conversation about that, and we'd love to try and say yes. It's something that we value, and if you are passionate about learning more about this topic, we want to make time available to do this, so that would be super fun. So there is some exciting news. There is a course coming up in another place in Australia.
Whereabouts?
It's a
Dave?
little warmer than where we are right now.
Dave, if you say sunny Queensland, I'm there.
It's in sunny Queensland.
Is it in sunny Queensland?
It is, so sunny Queensland. So yes, so for those that are in Queensland and want to jump in on that course, there'll be information coming up about that soon. And for the rest of you that are in sunny Tasmania, like Chad and Carla put in the chat before, or others that are in chilly Melbourne right now and you're looking for an excuse to go to Queensland, you could go there and do our course. So that's coming up, so we'll have an announcement about that. And the carry-on in the office, Mesh, has been quite unbelievable.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have volunteered to host that course and be part of the teaching team.
I feel especially called, Dave.
Right, you do.
To go
you
serve
do.
in Queensland in
Yeah,
that way.
I bet you do. Everyone else does too. Middle of
So
winter.
if you would like to specially request that I come to Queensland to help you run that course, it would be my honour.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So yes, course coming up in Brizzy. So yeah, we'd love other people to do that as well. So we're ready to go and willing to travel around Australia to do this. So yeah, and as we keep going through, if you have any questions about anything that we're talking about tonight, put it in the chat. Yeah, and we'd love to respond to that as we go through. And yes, if you'd like to know more about that course, you can send us an email at info@gozoe.org.au. So Grace, we can, if you shoot an email through to us, we can send you information on the dates where it's being hosted. And yeah, we can definitely get you there. So yeah, super excited. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So the other part of your role, well, which is the biggest part, well, tell me, what do you do? What sort of things do you do?
In a nutshell, education.
Yep, right.
I get to go to different schools and talk to the students. But the reason I get to do that is because we have the privilege at Zoe to offer free curriculum to all the teachers across Australia, which is in line with Year 9 and 10 geography for them. Yep. And so they can go on our website, they can download it instantly for free. And then as part of that, as an add-on, we have the opportunity for one of us from the Zoe team to go and speak to the students or the teachers or both about the work that we do and just expand on what they've learnt in the curriculum. So it's really fantastic.
So if someone is on the call now, if they're from a school or they want to book a speaker, what do they do?
They can just head to our website and you can click on book a speaker. There's some information there. You'll see some videos there with frequently asked questions and you can learn more that way, and then we'll get in touch with you to help you finalise that.
That's good. And you've been to a few places of late?
I have.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of planes recently.
Yep.
We have travelled to South Australia and Mildura. We've been to New South Wales a couple of times, and we've been to a lot of schools across Victoria as well. And later this year we'll be in Tassie. So
sunny Tassie, according to the
getting
chat.
around.
Yes,
yeah, hopefully
sunny.
it's still sunny
yes,
when
that's
I get
right.
there, Dave.
Yes.
But yeah, we've had so many great students that we've been able to share with. Probably close to 1,000, if not more, that have been reached just in the last couple of months.
So great, because our young people are people that are going to lead the charge, right? So they're learning about this topic, they're getting educated at school, teachers are providing an opportunity for them to really dig into this topic. But I guess a question I have for you as a parent, as someone who has kids in those kind of year levels that you're doing school with, is the topic too dark?
Good question. Good question. It is not too dark. While the content itself can be maybe confronting in nature, to understand there are people living in situations like that, we make sure that we emphasise the stories of restoration and the message of hope, because that's what Zoe means life in Greek, and this is the message we want to drive home to students and to teachers, that there is life that can be restored to these survivors, and so we want to empower kids. We want to build empathy for kids around these issues of injustice, but also then call them to action and show them that they can do something even where they are today.
It's so good. And I think when I've looked at the things that we do in schools, like we don't, it's not graphic, the content. It's designed to show that there is an issue, but we don't go into content that's graphic or things that would cause children to be upset. And so I think that's the whole thing. I think empowerment's such a great word, because that's that they feel, oh, I could actually do something, right? I could do something to make a difference, and I think that's so important. Yeah. So you're in Mildura as well, you said. So tell me about the students. I saw some things come back with you.
Yeah, I came back with some goodies from Mildura. We had
chocolates or?
Not chocolates.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Booklets.
No worries. Yeah, booklets. Booklets are good. Yeah.
We had 100 Year 9 students at one of the schools in Mildura that we went to, and they had, as an extension of the curriculum that we provided them, they had done these little booklets on what child trafficking is and ways that it can be ended.
Ah, that's good.
And so it's really significant to see our future leaders, which are sitting in the classrooms, putting together these information booklets and problem solving. These are solutions as to what we can do to end the problem of slavery and child trafficking.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. So I saw that you're doing sessions 45 minutes, and I see that you're doing 2-hour sessions, kind of a long time. So why 2 hours, or why a double period?
Good question. So when we started doing these talks in schools, the 45 minutes was sort of a lecture style way of presenting the content. But now we're finding that schools are very interested in having their students be interactive throughout the session. And so we've developed a more workshop style format. And so students are getting together in groups. They're using critical thinking and they're discussing with each other and just grappling with concepts to come up with solutions or answers to questions. And then we present them with some of the facts. And then that just helps them to learn in different ways, right? Because not everyone learns from hearing or reading. Some need to do. And so we try to incorporate different styles of learning to cater for all the students.
Yeah, it's great. No, I think it's really interesting, because I think that's one of the things about our young people. They want to engage, but having things that you can do where you're unpacking the topic a bit more rather than someone speaking from the front, I think is a great way to learn. Yeah, so that's awesome. So some of the schools have gone and done things. I've heard about different things that students have been doing, because often they hear something and then they're ready to go, right? They want to do something, a fundraiser. So what sort of things have you seen?
Oh, it's been fantastic. People have been really creative with their fundraising efforts. And so one school did a colour run here in Victoria.
Oh, fun.
So the teachers essentially had these water guns and were spraying the students and then throwing these colour bombs with powder, like coloured powder, at these students. So they start the race in white t-shirts and they end up all these different colours.
That's fun.
And so the pictures looked fantastic. And they raised money just through gold coin donations with the students. And then another school is doing a thrift store this week. So they're getting old clothes that they're no longer using but are still good enough to pass on. And they're selling it within their school, and the proceeds will go to Zoe. So there's a lot of different ways that people are engaging with fundraising.
Oh, I like it. Oh, that's great. Well, we're going to shift gears in a minute, but before we do that, there's a conference coming up in Melbourne with lots of teachers. So the Geography Teachers Association of Victoria Conference. So when's that one? It's coming up soon, right?
August 7th.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's going to creep up on us real quick.
So what will we be doing at that conference?
We are presenting with Mark Easton. So Mark Easton is kind of a big deal in the education sector. Look, he's written a lot of the textbooks that are out there. We love him. And he wrote the curriculum for us as well. So it's fantastic to be able to stand in front of all these teachers in Victoria and offer them curriculum that highlights such an important issue, modern slavery and human trafficking.
And so there we will give the curriculum away for free. So that's a great way that we can resource and equip teachers. So if you're outside of Victoria, this is a conference that is in Victoria in August, but we also have that curriculum available free on the website. So if you go there, there's a link there that shows you where the curriculum is, and then you can download it. So we have different curriculums available. We have one that fits in with the Australian curriculum, and then one that's very specific to New South Wales, because the syllabus is different for New South Wales. So we want to make sure it's hitting all the teaching outcomes. So it's empowering teachers. So it's just six lesson plans. Everything's there. And if you have feedback of ways that we can improve it, then we would love to hear that, because we always want to be able to try and give really good content to try and help you, help teachers as they're learning. So if you know a teacher, please encourage them to have a look, book a speaker, download curriculum. There's lots of things that you can do. So we're going to change gears and talk about some other stuff, but let's show a clip of an event that happened in Sydney recently. Well, we've just finished up the Justice Walk for 2023. Today was about all of us coming together to do justice. So we got together, we had a walk, we walked around this place and we raised funds so that kids could be freed from slavery.
Today for me symbolises Christianity and working towards a common goal which is freedom for children and people who are trafficked in modern slavery. And it's something that sits very close to our heart to be able to collectively raise awareness and funds for this cause.
It was so good to have so many children participate in the Justice Walk today. It is so important to teach our children to do justice and to do their little part in this world to make a difference.
Today was really fun, coming together with everyone, and nothing like finishing first.
We've had such a great day today at the Justice Walk 2023 with Revive Church. We have raised just under $25,000. So well done. Thank you for partnering with us, and don't forget to do justice.
Man, that was fun, huh?
That was such a wonderful day,
Yeah,
Dave. The
yeah.
weather turned out for us, Melburnians.
Yeah.
Look, we went to New South Wales maybe a few weeks prior, and the weather followed us here from Melbourne
It was a
to
shocker.
Sydney. It
Yeah,
was
it's freezing.
shocking.
Yeah.
But this day
Oh,
turned
yeah.
out beautiful. It
Yeah.
was so sunny and
Yep.
just perfect for the walk.
What'd
Yeah.
you love about it?
Well, look, it was a 7K walk around this beautiful Haberfield Rowers Club.
Yeah.
And we had families bringing their kids along, bringing their pets along, couples coming along, and everyone just sort of blocked out that time on a Saturday because they felt compelled to do something practical to support the cause. And so just to see them all coming together, doing this walk, they were holding these big placards with signs that say that we can do justice and we can end child trafficking. And they were walking around, and I'm sure that it caught attention, you know. It was just, amazing to see
Absolutely, and I love that theme. Like it was one of the key things was to do justice, and I think that's great. There's a verse in the Bible that I really like that talks about to do justice and to love mercy and walk humbly. And I think it's such a great expression of what it looks like to do justice, to actually come out, think about this, support it, have conversations around it, and then also, I mean, they raised a lot of money to help. So they raised, $30,000.
Wow.
So it was pretty significant that this church got together and had these goals, and other people came and joined as part of that, and it was pretty special. What was your takeaway from the event? What was something that stood out to you?
Look, I can't get past the kids having their own little fundraiser group.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be coming along, seeing kids just tagging along with their parents and, part of their fundraising group. But these kids in Kids Church got together and they raised a crazy amount, like $1,500 as children, right? And I think what it drove home to me was the fact that it doesn't matter how old you are, even at such a young and tender age, you can do something to end slavery. You can do justice in this way. So what about you, Dave? What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I can't go past the kids. I think that's what impacted me as well. I think when I'm thinking about, like, what's it going to take? You know, the numbers are growing, and modern slavery is such a hard thing to get involved, but yet I'm seeing all these little kids, like, going around. There was one young man there, and he was just so passionate about this topic. It's like it grabbed his heart. And so he was like calling people on the phone to try and get them to give and to fundraise, because he's just like, no, I can do this. This is something I can do. And you think about that and you often think, oh, it's the big people's job to raise the money so that people can be freed from slavery. But to see someone who's a primary school age child take that on, I was sort of sitting there going, okay, this is powerful. And I reckon, that young man is going to be powerful as he continues to look in and grows in this topic and gets a bigger understanding as he gets older, because it is a hard topic. But I think that was the thing for me. Yeah. I mean, it was fun. Like, people came with their dogs, and there was families there. There was pushers and strollers and prams and all those things. But it was a good day. It was a good day. So, so it's been a pretty massive quarter. Like, if we're thinking about our quarterly update, and we've kind of been all around the place. So there's been we were over in West Australia last year, so we have to head over there west again. So hopefully we'll get some bookings over there soon. But there's been a lot happening: Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia, headed to Tassie. everyone from Zoe trying to get to Queensland to run a course. So that'll be interesting to draw lots for that to see who gets to go. But yeah, lots of great things happening throughout Australia. And I think that's what excites me, because I can see that there's challenges in Australia and we need people from all over here to actually carry this forward to make a difference.
Certainly, Dave. And look, Canberra is no exception to that.
Yeah.
I know we haven't travelled there, right, specifically, but something in the last few weeks has popped up that is quite noteworthy in this space.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us a bit about that and why perhaps it's significant for us and the work that we do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't always get excited about the federal budget, you know, so I'm not always like, I'm not always like hanging out to see. No, I don't. But I mean, there's a lot of people in this sector that are pretty excited about the announcements that came out in the federal budget. There's a couple of key ones. One is that they're looking to de-link support services for people if they're not involved in the criminal justice system. So currently people can get support through the Support for Trafficked Peoples program, but it is linked to them being willing to be a part of the judicial process or testify or things like that. So there's a real push, there's a real movement in the sector. It's come from international pressure and some great people working in Australia that said, hey, how about we de-link that so people can get support irrespective as if they're ready to go through the criminal justice system. So that's very exciting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's been extension of time that people can be in the Support for Trafficked Peoples program as well. So that encourages us, because we want to see people supported. So that's very important.
So
and then,
why do you reckon, I might just interject there,
Yeah.
why do you reckon that is a benefit to have another referral pathway? What even is a referral
oh
pathway?
yeah, so that's the
first
other
of
big
all?
one. The other big one's the referral pathways. So right now, if there's someone who's a victim or survivor and they're needing help, they need to call the Australian Federal Police or put a inquiry through there. And so then once they're identified that way, then they can be referred for help through the Support for Trafficked Peoples program. But it is tricky if there's not other people that can also refer people to the Support for Trafficked Peoples program. So the Australian Federal Police, they do an awesome job. We are massive advocates for law enforcement. Those are hard-working men and women that do incredible work in really hard spaces. And so all of us at Zoe internationally are so thankful for law enforcement, because they really do some really incredible work. When we're looking at the needs of victims or survivors, the idea that they can have someone else that they can call that's not law enforcement, and then that person could be referred to get support, is very important, because not everyone feels comfortable to engage with law enforcement. Okay, so not everyone has. I have really positive interactions with law enforcement because of the people we've met. They're brilliant. But not everyone has positive interactions. They're scared of the police, or they're in situations where, because of other things that have happened, they may not want to engage the police. So there's still a part for everyone to do as we work this together. But this particular opening up of a new referral pathway is pretty significant.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Dave.
So numbers in Australia are pretty huge. So, and this is why I think there's probably people on the call, and we are talking a lot about Australia tonight, and you might be like, but surely there's no modern slavery in Australia, is there?
What's the size of the issue here, Dave?
Yeah, and that's probably one of the big things. I mean, there was a report from 2016 done by Walk Free Foundation that said any given day in 2016 there were 15,000 people in modern slavery. So we've been waiting for new publishing of data, and the latest report, the 2023 report, is now estimating that there's 41,000 people in modern slavery in Australia.
Okay, that's quite a big jump in 5 years.
It's quite a big jump. And that's one of the challenges, is that when it comes to the issue of modern slavery in Australia, it's called hidden in plain sight. So for every one victim or survivor that's identified, 4 aren't. And so there's such a challenge to try and have us as a community become aware of the issue, know what the signs are, what to look for, and so that way we can start to make a difference. I mean, yeah, I don't think many people would think that there would be 41,000 people estimated in modern slavery here in Australia. And Walk Free Foundation, they do have a pretty strong methodology.
How do they come up with these numbers, 41,000?
Yeah, so it is an estimation. So that's how they do it. They look at things like vulnerability. They look at the prevalence and estimation based on the prevalence. They look at vulnerability factors. They look at access, and they assess the government action that's happening in each country as well. But they use that same methodology in 100 plus countries. 176 countries, I think it is, that they're currently looking at. So it's a pretty robust methodology, but it is hard to estimate numbers of modern slavery. It's not easy to quantify. But I mean, what we believe is if there's one person in slavery, that's one too many.
One too many.
And so globally, a quarter are children. So yes, Barbara's asking about what the breakdown of what slavery represents in Australia. So when it comes to the issue of modern slavery, currently 14% of all people that are referred for support are children. So when we're looking at children, so that's our particular focus for Australia. So the issue of modern slavery in Australia relates to forced labour, forced marriage and other forms of exploitation. So there's a lot of cases. The number one case that's being referred for support is forced marriage. So that is something that's pretty significant, and that's a key focus area in Australia. I've seen a lot of information, education, awareness about that issue, and as that awareness has come, it's been the number one report to the Australian Federal Police. So I think as more people understand what modern slavery looks like in Australia, then I think we're actually going to see an increase in the number of children that are referred.
Because you had a really interesting question at one of the sessions you did recently about a potential modern slavery situation with teenagers recruiting younger children.
Yeah, and there's cases that have gone through the criminal justice system. There's a case in Sydney with two sisters that were finding children that had been in out-of-home care. And so these were adults that were looking for vulnerable children in out-of-home care and then recruiting them and then selling them to other men. So I know we often want to think that it's, you know, oh, this is people that are from certain sectors of society. But one of these guys was an accountant, these other people that are in business. I mean, the people that are exploiting children come from all walks of life. There was a case in Sydney that was referred to in the Walk Free Foundation report, which talked about Operation Arkstone. And so that was a operation that was all over Australia. So a whole lot of children got removed from harm in that particular case. It wasn't called trafficking under the legal system in Australia, but it's interesting that Walk Free Foundation actually highlighted that case. And so this was cases where people were in positions of power that had access to children. So even one of the people worked at a childcare centre and was finding children there and then giving them to his partner who was abusing them and mistreating them and exploiting them. So there are situations that we see. There's a case in Tasmania where two people were exploiting a girl, and so they were selling her and taking her to places, hotels where they were recruiting, they were advertising her out and having other people come and exploit her. So there are cases that we see when we look at what the definition of trafficking is. This looks like a trafficking case, and so it's one of those things that as we get greater understanding about this issue, I think that we're going to say, oh, there's actually more cases like this in Australia, and our hope is to see support services built for these children. So these kids have had significant trauma, and if I think about the work we do in LA or in Thailand, we've actually provided a whole lot of support services to try and help children to heal. And so that's what we're really passionate about doing here in Australia as well. So yeah, it's quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge. And I think all of us as Australians, we want to be like, oh, well, it's a problem over there. You know, that's how I thought when I first heard about trafficking. I wasn't thinking this is an issue. I wasn't thinking modern slavery in Australia. I was thinking it's someone else's problem.
And you certainly weren't thinking 41,000
I wasn't.
people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But, do you know, as you're talking, it's highlighting the issue of brokenness in our world.
It is, absolutely.
Right? And brokenness doesn't know any bounds. It's not restricted to a particular country or industry. It crosses borders. It permeates through society, right?
Absolutely. And so this is like one of these things where it's going to take the effort of all of us. It's not up to Zoe just to solve this problem. It's going to take a community of people. And so that's why we're very thankful to everyone who's jumped on this tonight. And we don't want this to be the end of the journey. We want people to continue to grow and learn about this topic. We're learning new things every day. Unfortunately, people that exploit children learn as well. And so, you know, we've seen industries morph and go online, and kids get, predators get access to children through online gaming and through apps. And so that's why we're always trying to think through what are things that we can do to help families, to strengthen families, to support children in vulnerable situations. And it could be getting involved and doing things like the parenting course. It could be doing the online course and learning more about it. We have things like phone contracts that can help parents to have open conversations with their teenagers.
I really like that one.
Yeah. And some of that's interesting, right? Because that was one of the things when you were away and someone came up to you when you're trying to have a holiday and explained the situation, and I was like, oh, well, we've got stuff that can help that person that's heard that their child's having interactions with someone online that's unsafe.
Yeah.
And so there's great resources that the Australian government has. There's other things that other people have, and we want to try and get those into hands of people because we know that predators attack vulnerable people. And so if we can have children feel safe and supported in families and communities that look out for children, kids are the most vulnerable people in our society. So we have to all work together as the big people, as the adults, to try and help protect our kids. And it's super important.
That's really good, because education is something we highlighted earlier for students. And we said that they're the future leaders, and all that is true. And we want to empower them with knowledge. But it's also for parents and for teachers, for adults, to know how they can partner with that and help protect children, not just their own, but other people's children. Perhaps we don't realise that there are practices that we engage in, day to day, things we buy, other touch points with modern slavery that could be impacting someone's life. And we just don't know it.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, 100%. And so, unpacking the, I hope we answered that question for you, Barbara. Unpacking the issue in Australia and modern slavery is complicated. The Australian government has a national action plan that they're working their way through. The Criminal Code in Australia, Division 270 and 271, is currently under review by the Attorney General's Department, Attorney General's Office. And so they're looking to, well, I can't say what they're going to do, but our hope is that the law gets changed, because there's a few key things within the Australian definition that we think should be more in line with the United Nations definition when it comes to the issue of trafficking. So in Australia, terms like modern slavery and trafficking are used interchangeably. And so part of that is trying to help people understand the different forms of slavery, what it looks like, how people are exploited, are all part of the things that we are unpacking in our online course, and also the courses that we offer in person, because we've got to build more awareness about this so that people can see it, they can report it to the Australian Federal Police, so that we don't want reports for reports' sake. We want children to be safe, right? We want kids that have been through significant trauma to be able to have support around them by people that can care for them and look after them, so that they can heal from these things and have a wonderful, flourishing Zoe life, all right? Because that's what it means, right? It means flourishing life, and so that's our hope. And we've been part of this work globally. We've seen kids heal from trauma that's unimaginable, but we believe that we can be part of supporting them on their healing journey and helping them as they go towards that path of restoration.
Well, that's it, Dave. You've seen it. You've seen the work at hand, right? You've seen stories of restoration unfolding before your eyes.
Absolutely.
You spent 11 years in Thailand.
Yep.
And we just want to do something similar here in Australia and see kids' lives restored.
Yeah, and I think it's just that thing, right? It's going to take the efforts of all of us. We all have to take ownership. We have to all choose that if we actually want to see this ended in our generation, we have to educate ourselves, equip ourselves. And so we want to support people on that journey. We want to help people to learn. We want to go on a journey together as we're unpacking a lot of this. It's quite it's quite a big thing to unpack. So just some of the stuff that's coming through the chat. Yes, mobile phones, Alfonso, I could agree with you there. I think it's one of the challenges. So there's a chat there about using mobile phones, especially for kids at a young age. And I think that's one of the things is when we're talking about phone contracts, it's actually, I would see the target is when kids are in primary school or elementary school, when they're younger, and start having conversations with children from a younger age. So we can see that devices have gone younger and younger. And so we just got to help people understand what parental controls are, so that devices can be pretty locked down to begin with, and what you will allow on an app. Because unfortunately, people have worked out a way to access our children from a very young age. And so it's not something that you can ever set and forget. It's actually something you have to really try and monitor, so that kids aren't being seeing content that's inappropriate. They're not accidentally talking with people on online spaces. So there are people that go on online spaces specifically to groom children, and they pose as a young person through cyber and through playing games. And so there's plenty of that that's happening right now. And so there's lots of great information. There's a Australian government program called ACE, the Australian Centre to Combat Child Exploitation. And so if you look them up, ACE, ACCACCCE, they have some great resources for parents. They have some videos available. And if it's something you want to learn more about, I'd really encourage you to go to some of these government-based sites. There is the e-Safety Commissioner as well. So if you see things online or you're concerned, you can make a report to the e-Safety Commissioner, and they will follow that up to try and ensure that if there's people online trying to find children and exploit them, that we can have that tracked and shut down. And the Australian government is also a part of children potentially that are older, or if online exploitation material has gone online. So if there's been images placed online of your child, of another teenager, if you're online or your teenager has posted something and that's ended up online, there's actually ways that that content can be removed so that doesn't continue to bounce around the internet. So if you need more information on that, you could email us at info@gozoe.org.au, and we can point you to the government area in Australia that could help you with those sorts of things. So these are things that we're part of in some of our other countries, working with these entities to pull down some of this exploitation material. But yeah, the worst thing is to stay silent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So kids do make mistakes, and people, we do, and sometimes people chat, sometimes kids send a nude or something like that, and we just don't want that to end up into a situation where a child gets groomed and further exploited. So it's pretty important that if that happens, open conversations with your young person, so that nothing is off limits.
The thing I like about the phone contract, Dave, is it talks about what is healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before the child is given the device.
Yep.
Because once you give them the device and they have free reign, it's hard to pull that back.
Yeah, I agree.
And so setting those ground rules for their safety and explaining what can happen and the dangers that are out there. Danger awareness is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think sometimes we treat these topics as taboo, and then our child or loved one finds out about it from experience or from their friends' experiences.
Yep. So true.
So
yeah, absolutely.
that's
And I think that's it. And there's never too late to reset.
Yeah,
You know, it's always something that you can start again, even if you haven't had a phone contract and you've got things that it's just designed to be an agreement. It's a conversation starter. You could have a teenager now. Just try open conversations. Yeah. So just try. It's one of these areas that all of us are navigating. So we're working this out with young people, and technology is going quicker than what we can keep up, but together we just got to help each other. Yeah. So any other questions that came through the chat? If there's anything else you'd love to know about what we've talked about tonight, we'd be happy to answer that before we jump off. But it's been fun, hasn't it?
It's been so much fun, and we've covered so many different exciting projects that we've done and been a part of this past few months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would really encourage, if you want to continue with Zoe on the journey, we are learning and we're getting better at communicating about some of the things that are going on. So I'd love you to go to our website and subscribe, and then you'll start to be kept up to date with things that are happening here in Australia and also other things that are happening globally as well. So we'll try not to pester you. We will update you when there's things happening. If we can know what state you're from, then if there's things happening like the course in Queensland, you'll get an invite because there's something that's happening local to you as well. But we'd love to stay connected with you. We're only a pretty small team, so we are learning to navigate this space. But one thing we know, it's going to take the effort of all of us if we're actually going to see and make an end to this. So Grace is asking, do we have an office in Melbourne? And yes, Grace, we do. We are currently, our office is in Clayton, so in southeast suburbs of Melbourne. So if you want to connect with us, by all means, you can shoot us an email, info@gozoe.org.au, we'd be happy to have a chat and see if there's some other things that we can get involved in. So office is in Melbourne, but our work is definitely national. we are working all over Australia, as we've shared tonight. So we do travel. So if there's schools that are interested, we go all over Australia. If there's groups that are interested, if you could help us, and if you're thinking, what's some homework? I feel like a teacher. Your homework for tonight. Well, I just think if there's something that's impacted you, I'd love you just to have a think about getting a group of people together. Either to think about, is there a way that you could pull 20 people together and we could potentially run a in-person course with your group? Or is there a way you could connect with your local church or a youth group or an activism group and have a conversation about this? I met with a ladies group a month or so ago, and it was a group of women that came together to talk about issues of justice. And so they invited us in as a speaker to share about the issue of modern slavery. And so we talked a lot about conscious consuming. Right. We talked about the products we buy. We talked a little bit about tuna and the concerns we have about supply chain with tuna. And most of those people were very upset with me. I had a lot of questions about tuna. Yeah. It's a hard one to unpack. I have more questions about tuna. Yes, absolutely. So, so we talked a lot about conscious consuming, about researching a product, just a product that you buy, and just start with one. Start with one, make a small change. So, they're all things that are going to kind of change this space. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Gary. Yep. Thank you, Laura. It's just wonderful. I can see a few more things coming up. But yes, the new game is very exciting, Laura. We are super excited to get that out there. So yeah, we are piloting at it, as Rachel and Andrea shared. So we did put information to a web page in the chat, and that's got 3 different videos that explain a little bit more about the game. We are looking to pilot that. So we are needing groups, small groups of young people that are in that target age of grade 5, grade 6, that we could pilot the game with, because before we go too much further, we want to keep seeing how children interact with it so we can make modifications and tweaks, so then we can start to get this game into the community, into the hands of people who are working in spaces that help children. A great way to facilitate that. So thank you, Sarah. God bless you too. Yes, and thank you for jumping on. Thank you, Alfonso. We appreciate it. Thanks so much, Grace. Yeah, it's really great to, I just think it's so wonderful when people come together to make a difference in this area. So, all right, wow. Yes, it is wonderful, Barbara, and thank you for your support and being on the journey with us. You are absolutely wonderful. So we appreciate you. You're brilliant. You're absolutely brilliant. So I can't see any more questions coming through, so I'll just say thank you so much for everyone. Thank you, Nikki. Thanks for joining us tonight. So on behalf of all of us here at Zoe Australia, and then obviously part of our teams in America, Thailand, Japan, Mexico, we just want to thank you so much for joining with Zoe. It's our mission to reach every person and to rescue every child, and that is a pretty significant vision and mission, and to do that it's going to take the efforts of all of us, so we can't thank you enough for
thank you guys
being a part of the journey.
So
stay with us. Yes, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Les. Yes, and please reach out if you need anything, updates, more information about anything that we've talked about tonight. And this is going to be great when we get a community of people that are working together and we're working in unity to try and solve and stand in the gap for these children. It's going to be pretty significant.
Yeah, especially when we see the numbers changing from 15,000 to 41,000, right?
Yeah. Kind of disempowering. Yes.
So we need as much support as we can just to run alongside us and to do the work.
And I'm clearly not doing a good enough job because the numbers are going the wrong way, Mesh. So I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that Rach is here, and Andy and Giselle and Sharon and Luke and Huds, and just the great team that we've developing here in Australia. And just for all the wonderful volunteers that are doing this great work and championing this, people in schools, teachers, pastors in local churches. It's so awesome. Yeah, we can do this if we do this together.
It's very encouraging to stand together with you. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you need anything, reach out and we'd love to connect with you further.